So what did you want to talk about today?
Today, honor and leadership. I feel like the honor in leadership doesn't come from the position itself or the position of power. It comes from what you do with it. I've been learning a lot, reading a lot about being a leader, and it has almost nothing to do with the position itself. It's almost all to do with the people you're leading. In a business capacity, is your employees, it's the customers, the guests, it's people you have to service. And that's an important word because majority of leadership is service, serving others. That's how you almost qualify yourself as a leader. And then in a personal capacity, it's what I would say your family. As a man, your first corporation is your family. Those are the people you gotta lead. That's the group you're the first CEO of. You dealing with, if you have children, different personalities. You gotta learn how to delegate from responsibilities to your wife down to the children, knowing how to communicate to each one collectively and individually. But being that leader, like you gotta know. There's a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and they give you so much insight on the thing, what John C. Maxwell calls the laws of leadership. They got like law of the lid, where your ability is how great you can lead. The law of the inner circle, a leadership's greatest potential is the people he has closest to him. Law of addition, that leaders add value by serving others. Once you get through that book, you'll be humbled in the position you want to call yourself. If you call yourself a leader or have any type of authority, you'll be humbled in reading that book and see what it actually takes to become a leader. It's about the people you serving, in a sense. The people you're leading are the people you're serving. There's a man named Andre Whitfield who has a book called Male versus Man. And he describes the difference as a male looks to be served and a man looks to be of service. And if you want to call yourself like the man of the household or of your household, to have that type of honor and leadership, you got to look to be of service to everyone around you. And this is something I'm learning and dealing with as well. Calling the shots or being the boss or the leader don't just mean calling the shots. It really means leading by example. Like when your pride is put to the side to do something necessary, you can ask someone to put their pride to the side, or they'll take the initiative to do so because they've seen you do it. Put their pride to the side for the sake of the team. And then they got something called the law of victory. The leader makes sure that the team wins. Unity of vision, diversity of skill, and bringing everyone to their greatest potential. You gotta make sure everyone knows the goal. But your actions, they got something called the law of navigation. Anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Those skills you have in your team, you speaking encouragement to the people that's on your team or the family members in your family, to cultivate like that inner potential that they have to its greatest quality, making sure we all unified in what we see as the goal. Those type of things are what bring honor to the leader, and that comes with the service that you do. It's a lot I've been contemplating when it comes to honor and leadership. I'm being humbled because I feel like I'm becoming a leader, but learning what it entails, it got nothing to do with being a boss per se, or like how most men want to say the alpha. You could be an alpha, I'm not gonna say that, but leading, like I can't get away from the word. To lead is not the same as just dictating, telling people what to do. It's far easier said than done, showing people what to do.
So why are you so concerned with leadership?
I'm this concerned with leadership because in the capacity that I'm in now, I am a leader, but to become greater, I had to like understand it as a concept itself. In business, I may be over like 21 or 25 employees so far, but to grow in management, you'll eventually be over other managers, and then in bigger businesses or becoming a director of operations in a certain corporation, you'll be over like actual businesses and managers, general managers in those specific businesses who eventually service customers. In the capacity I'm in now, I deal with the customer and over the employee who deals with the customer. But to be over one as myself, to govern this group of people who can influence the customers that come in, I gotta be able to see things from the ground level being that high. And then on a personal level, I think it's humbling for real. Like when you have a strong partner, and as a man you're meant to lead. I'm not gonna say the quotes on the man part, but as a man you're meant to lead. You gotta understand what leadership is, and it's not about like just because you got a penis and your voice deep, that don't make you the man. And even paying the bills don't make you the man. Those are the most basic qualities that people always say: protection and provision. You are the prophet, the priest, the protector and provider of your home. You're supposed to speak life into the home, call what's to come, and lead them to the vision. Keep the family unified. In our capacity as men, we can nurture. It's just translated different to the ones that we're nurturing. When we hug our daughter, she may take that, like it translates, maybe due to our masculinity or gender, as protection. Versus when she hugs her mom, it just translates as comfort. And admonishment from us could be translated as like correction or severe discipline. As opposed to the mom, it could be the same thing, but it just maybe has a lesser aggressive tone because she's the mom. But I feel that as a man, it's more than just the basic thing about putting money to the bills and saying what goes on in the house. I think it's literally show and prove. Show and prove. Because one thing I learned about child psychology is children don't listen, they copy. And they're gonna watch a leader.
So, John Maxwell defines leadership as influence. If you had a word, what would you describe leadership as if you had one word to choose?
I would say the same word. I actually agree, influence. And that's part of the reason my name is my name. Shout out to Pusha T. But that's an album title of his. But influence, because a lord is defined in Merriam-Webster's dictionary as a person with supreme influence, as well as it being a title of aristocracy. That is, I think, the primary definition: a person with supreme influence. And when it comes to leadership, when he says he defines it as influence, people who have influence, it's almost how, believe it or not, religiously, that's how the devil is described. That it's almost not in the form of possession. He persuades people or takes over. It's influence to do certain things. When it comes to a leader, or any person who may not even call themselves a leader, but they have influence, that's a real power. Because based on you alone, you can literally drive, convince, persuade, inspire people to do certain things. Act in your best interest, act in even their own best interest, granted you have that, or make them do something that they didn't think they can do just because of who you are. Influence, I believe, is powerful. Influence can almost override, how do I put this? I don't think it can override respect. I believe there could be a person you respect, but they don't exactly influence you. You can have a manager who's a manager, so you technically have to respect him, but he's not someone that you would look to as some sort of admiration to particularly influence you. They could be a person who's not necessarily in a position of authority over you, but who they are can influence you and literally be an inspiration. And that person could probably have more say. Even in the analogy, that person could probably inspire you to quit your job and not listen to your manager. I think influence, I agree. I would call leadership that very same thing. Because with influence in my home, it can make my lady or hypothetical children want to do things just because dad is doing it.
What is your definition of influence? What is influence?
Influence, I will probably, let me look up the real definition because I could give my own, but I'd rather stick to what it is. Influence, the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. They got others, but who cares? Now, I'm not going to say who cares. These joints is kind of fire. The power to shape policy or ensure favorable treatment from someone, especially through status, contacts, or wealth. A person or thing with the capacity or power to have an effect on someone or something. I think that's literally everything I described. How I would word it. I think a person with influence could spark small seeds of inspiration. So I think those definitions are key, because I think people have capacities of influence. Like how I talked about the manager, he could have a certain level of influence because of the status of his position, but not necessarily the character of that man could be that great of an influence on you. And then there's people who have a greater influence because of their character, and I think that's the person I am. Though in a few places actually, I have status, quote unquote, like at least some authority and respect in certain venues that I've gone in or places of business. So that could be a small part of influence, and it can all tie together. Imagine being the person who has a good amount of wealth, status, and the character. I think that collectively will form the greatest influence, and it'll make you almost impossible to be hated, which is impossible, but you would definitely be loved by most and loved by more. So I definitely agree with how it's standardly defined. I believe my character influences most.